and welcome again all of you for this session. And it's great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker for this session, Professor Ajay K. Ray. He is the chair of Chemical and Biochemical Engineering Department at the University of Western Ontario, Canada. He obtained his BSc in Chemistry and Chemical Engineering from the University of Calcutta, MTech in Chemical Engineering from IIT Kanpur, and his PhD in Chemical Engineering from University of Minnesota. Before joining UWO in 2005, he was at the University of Groningen, Netherlands for 3 years and at the National University of Singapore for 10 years. His research interests are in modeling, simulation, and optimization of chemical processes, adsorptive-based separation and purification based on simulated moving bed systems in chemical reaction engineering, particularly in photocatalysis and photocatalytic reactor development. Professor Ray has contributed to enhance engineering knowledge by devising innovative approaches to enhance process performance for applications in energy, environment, food, and health, the key challenges facing the world. Professor Ray is a prolific author, having written a textbook on engineering mathematics and over 210 research articles in archival journals. The impact of his work is evident from his high H index and citations received. He has mentored over 60 graduate students. He is a member of editorial board of many esteemed journals. Recipient of the Research, Teaching and Faculty Scholars Award, Craig Quest Award, Distinguished Speakers Award, and Distinguished Alumni Award from Calcutta University, India. Now, I would like to request Professor Ray to please come on dais and enlighten us with your words.
For the introduction. Before I start, as usual, I have to thank the host for inviting me to come here. I have a long relation with Professor Gupta. Since 83, when I joined IIT Kanpur for masters, I worked with him, and whatever I'm today, I'm primarily because of him. To tell you a very short thing about that is when he basically inspired me to do PhD, and that time there was no computer, it was a typewriter and all. And recommendation letter that he wrote to Mr. Pandey, the department office main secretary, he told me that he has never typed such recommendation letter in 30 years. I don't know what he saw in me, but whatever I am today is primarily because of him. I also want to thank Dr. Saraf. I took his optimization course, and that's the first introduction of me to optimization field, which I'll talk a little bit also today. Professor Gupta also came to Singapore when I was there. He spent 1 year, 4 months, where we also worked on many different application, industrial application, using multi-objective optimization. And some of those papers are very well received, both industrially and academically. And he also visited me when I was in Canada, still in Canada. He visited one summer, taught a course there. So it's always a pleasure to come back and see him, and from there. This is Western Campus where we are now. It's very green, beautiful campus. It's called Forest City. So I thought that I would show you this picture. So today what I'm going to talk is one of the 3-4 areas that I work. Simulated moving bed is basically adsorptive separation. This technology is very old, 1959-60. It was patented by Universal Oil Products of Chicago, and primarily used for difficult separation in liquid phase, binary separation. Industrially, all over the world, this technology is used for some difficult separation, which we'll talk. But what I'll talk mostly about the modifications that have been going on with simulated moving bed in recent years. So since 60s to mid 70s, early 80s, hardly anything happened with simulated moving bed other than UOP was using that technology for difficult separation. And then a lot of activity started because of the potential of that. So we'll talk about most of those modifications and also reactive separation. In that also we'll talk about optimization because it's very much necessary if you want to design or develop properly simulated moving bed system. So we'll talk about two concepts. This is simulated moving bed. We'll talk about that, what we mean by simulated moving bed. We have moving bed. Again, those who don't know this technology, we call moving bed, but bed is not moving. We simulate as if the bed is moving. But more important, I'll be talking about these modifications, several modifications still going on, and potential for many different applications. And also apply the concept of multi-objective optimization, which I learned from Professor Gupta when he was in Singapore, the Pareto optimal solution. Again, many of you know because you are from here, and we'll talk about that briefly. Now, what is SMB is basically adsorptive separation, separation that are not possible because by distillation or other separation technique. One good example is xylene isomer separation, orthometaparazylene and ethyl benzene. Their boiling point is very close to each other, and paraxylene is the raw material for polyester, and ethyl benzene is the raw material for styrene. And only way you can get those pure is by using this technology, and it is used industrial all over the world wherever it has use for our polyester plant or styrene plant. So what has happened is that you have a bed which is packed with adsorbent or chromatographic materials, and you flow binary mixture. We'll talk about multi-component also later on. So when you have a binary mixture flowing through it, because of difference in adsorption equilibrium, they get separated. So if you pass component, the hair which is moving faster, tortoise which is moving slower, you can collect it as pure component if you switch when the other component is about to break through. But the main problem is that this is very efficient process. HPLC, which is batch process in the lab people use, is for efficient separation like that. Now, industrially, if you want to apply, you have to make it continuous. Otherwise, the productivity is very low. The advantages of chromatography is very well known, very highly selective, compact volume. You can use low solvent uses compared to extraction, mild operating conditions you can use. And nowadays, all kinds of different, depending on separation that you want to achieve, your column, you can have size exclusion, chiral stationary phase, metal affinity, cation and ion exchange. So a lot of mechanism and diffusion and other things you can consider. These days people are now talking about protein drug separation or biopharmaceutical applications like that, and we'll talk briefly about that as we go on. So it is very well known, but limitation in batch chromatography is, of course, it's not a continuous process, meaning low productivity, and it's difficult to get both simultaneously high purity and yield of the desired component you are looking for, low adsorption utilization, because if you use just one column, you are not using efficiently the adsorbent, and when it goes to chiral stationary phase, it's very expensive material, then you want to use properly. You don't want to use reduce the solvent consumption, and because of high solvent consumption, your product will be very dilute, and all leads to high cost and so on. So you want to get into continuous mode. So if you want to have continuous mode, you have to circulate the solid, and you have to circulate the mobile phase, liquid phase, or gas phase if you are looking to gas phase separation. But continuous process will give you higher productivity, but flow of solids is not very practical because it's not easy to pump solids. It will form powder formation, channeling, and all other related issues. So what we want to do is that we don't want basically move the solid, but we'll fix the solid and we'll do something to simulate as if the solid is moving, and that's what we call simulated moving bed. Now before we get into that, once we want to have continuous flow, what we want is to achieve that is we want counter current flow because from mass transfer point of view, you will have efficient utilization or productivity will be higher. Now in order to achieve counter current flow, if we have a solid slowly moving, for example, and the mobile phase which is moving faster, so what will happen that when you put the two binary mixture, because of higher mobile phase flow rate, both will go in one direction, or you will achieve basically co-current flow. Whereas if you make the solid flow first, and now if you put that, what will happen, both will move with the solid, then the mobile phase, and you will still have co-current flow. Now in order to achieve counter-current flow, this is one that is one way of explaining counter-current separation. This work is a simulated moving bed. When I started working with in Minnesota, that was my PhD topics. I was the first one incorporated reaction. But this work was Rutherford Harris's work in 70s, 80s, and late 80s and early 90s when he stopped. His work related to chromatography was with only single column, then true countercurrent reaction in a chromatographic column, then simulated separation and all. In all that to explain, he developed this way that if you write the mass balance for both phases and you can come up with effective velocity definition of each species, you can come up with this expression. It's dimensionless concentration gamma, and you have a parameter relative carrying capacity, which is basically ratio of the flow rate of the solid phase and the mobile phase or gas phase, and where alpha is basically the phase ratio, the adsorption equilibrium constant of the two, and the solid phase to mobile phase ratio. So if you write the mass balance, you can come up with the expression of effective solid velocity of each component here. And if you see that when sigma is less than 1, this number will be, this numerator will be always positive, and this is always 1 plus something, so BSI is always positive. So if sigma is less than 1, it will flow with the direction of basically gas phase or the mobile phase. However, if sigma I is greater than 1, then for some values of concentration, dimensionless concentration, it will be negative for one component, or at low concentration of gamma, low values of gamma, but at a high value, it become positive. So what can happen is that if you set your solid and mobile phase velocity such a way, and you choose your adsorbent such a way that the ratio that gives you sigma value greater than 1 for one component, less than 1 for the other component, what will happen, basically two species will move in two different directions. Now this is the way we define, we can explain most of the results or all results using this technique. There is another group, very few groups work on simulated moving bed worldwide. There is one group in Switzerland, Massimo Morbidelli. He also works a lot on chromatographic separation, and he defined this relative carrying capacity in a different way, although this ratio of the two velocity of the two phase, but he has a different parameter here, and he defines in m variable, and he went on to explain the results. But essentially, you can explain everything this way. So now, if you set the parameter, choose such a way that is greater than 1 for one component, less than 1 for the other component, and then if you pass the thing, because one will move in one direction, one will move in the other direction. And you can show that for any separation here like that, as long as your velocity and adsorbent is chosen such a way that it gives you greater than 1 and less than 1 for two components, you'll get counter-current separation, which we are looking for. So what we're getting is that from lab in batch process, in a single column, they get separated because of difference in adsorption equilibrium. You can collect that. And we want to get into continuous mode, so you have multiple columns and you have things moving. And if you get into flow of solid and fluid, one you want to move in other direction than the other one to get countercurrent flow like that. But technically we don't want to move the solid because of all the related issue with the solid. So that's where came the concept of this technology, simulated moving bed. Again, it's a very old technology. So what we do here is that we have number of columns we put in a cycle, and feed comes in, the component that moves faster or weakly adsorbed, it moves faster, and you can collect it in the raffinate port. And the one that is moving slower is falling behind. And you want to set those sigma parameters such a way that you have a countercurrent flow. So the one that is weakly moving is going in that direction relatively, and you are collecting the one that is moving faster here. Now, the time, because feed is coming continuously, so the time the other component is about to come out, what you do is you switch to the next column. So your raffinate port you move here, feed port you move there, the solvent that is coming in to recover the strongly adsorbed component, which you collect in the extract port, so you can move there and so on. So you have a series of columns because of the feed and the solvent that is coming in and the two outlet raffinate and extract, just like in extraction. It divides the device into 4 regions. In this region, you want to achieve countercurrent separation because you want one to be collected, the other to move relatively to the other direction. And here also you want to have countercurrent direction because the weakly adsorbed you want to move there, and the strongly adsorbed here to collect in extract. So these 2 regions you want to operate in countercurrent flow, but here and here you want to operate in co-current flow because you want the weakly adsorbed to move this direction and the strongly in that direction. So you set sigma such a way both are negative, less than 1, or both are greater than 1 like that. Now what we are doing here is that keeping the solid fixed, and we are keep on moving the feed, raffinate, solvent and all continuously like that, and in a relative motion it appears that the solid is moving in the other direction. So you are basically simulating a moving bed, although you are not moving the bed. So you can achieve that. So that's where it looks like. So you want to operate it here countercurrent, and this region we want to regenerate the fluid, and here you want to regenerate the solid. So you set these 2 regions, you have to have the co-current flow and their countercurrent flow. And if you do optimization, which we'll see later, and you can easily see that the decision variables that will be decided will be always follow that, otherwise you will not get as pure or you cannot increase productivity and so on. Now there are few parameters, the decision variables, because of the flow rate. If you write mass balance in each port, there are the 4, 2 inlet, 2 outlet, and the 4 flow rates in the 4 region. By mass balance, you'll see you'll only freedom of 4 flow rate to choose. So those 4 flow rate and the switching time, that when to switch will decide basically the decision variable. So you can set the solid velocity, which you can say the length of the column divided by the switching time, which will give you a hypothetical solid velocity. Now the number of columns required in each section and all depends on the separation that you want to achieve and the adsorbent you have and so on. So again you have to decide. So when you want to design, you don't know what the length you need. Having number of columns gives you flexibility that you can switch with more segments like that. Now the technology what UOP uses, the Sorbex process, the generic name, and then depending on different application, they call that as a Parex process for paraxylene and so on. So it has been used in industry for xylene isomer separation worldwide. In 70s and so it became very popular for fructose separation. Glucose fructose is isomer. And food industry need concentrated fructose syrup for soft drinks and yogurt and chocolate factory and all. And all those companies like Cargill and all, they use this technology because otherwise you cannot separate because they are isomer. In 90s, it became very popular for chiral drug, and we'll talk about that. And recently, for protein refolding or recovery of protein drugs or a lot of biopharmaceutical, people are using that. Now, the processes looks complex, but these days, with the development of all control and all, very quickly you can put that. NovaSafe is one company in France who sells simulated moving bed unit. There are many other companies also, but NovaSafe is the one. Now, each column basically has facilities that each column can act as a feed column. All the other valves will be closed. You can use as a raffinate port when everything else is closed, or extract port, or a solvent coming in, or you are draining that. So at a time, only one valve is open, so it acts as a feed column or collection of raffinate or eluent like that. Now, because of the switching, the product you are collecting in raffinate and extract is always goes through transition concentration, but it reaches a pseudo steady state. So the concentration that you collect is the average of all that. So when you calculate, you will see that. Now, to have the flow and continuously collecting raffinate and extract. So what we do here, when we collect raffinate, we do not collect everything here. We just put fraction of it we collect here and fraction we push it to the other segment, so that when this becomes the raffinate collection, we have a head start, so that we have a continuous collection of raffinate and extract. So we set what fraction we'll be collecting and all. Again, all has to be decided. So it all makes the process more complicated. So that's the technology. But what I'll be talking today and some results, that there are several modifications done to the traditional simulated moving bed, which I just talked. Varicol process, which is variable columns, power feed, solvent gradient, multi-component separation, then just binary separation. You can use that as a hybrid SMB with crystallization. For reactive separation, you can apply, and then application of multi-objective optimization can give you better design and development of this modified SMB or even SMB. And recently, sequential SMB, people have started using in industry, and there is no work done with respect to modeling and optimization. So I'll present some results. And recently, our work on non-isothermal, just briefly I'll mention that. So I'll go through one by one like that with introduction of what each of this means and what's the advantage, and some results I'll show with respect to that. So first is the varicol process. So what we have in traditional SMB is that we have a synchronous switching. That when you switch the feed, we switch the raffinate, we switch the eluent, and we switch the extract. And we run the process like that. It reaches after a few cycles, it reaches a steady state, cyclic steady state or periodic steady state and so on. Now what may happen that here I show in a particular way, but again it depends on the process that we're running and so. So it may happen that I still can collect raffinate, but I may see that all the extract has been collected is only solvent coming in. So instead of waiting for full cycle, I can divide the switching cycle into lots of segments. And after, for example, 1/4 of the cycle, I do not move anything else, but I move the extract port here to here, because all extract is out and there is no point of collecting just solvent coming in and taking it out. So I can move the extract port here. I may need to now, looking at the concentration profile of through the columns, I may now need to move the feed port. I may now move the eluent port or raffinate port like that. So within a cycle, within a switching cycle, I can introduce some sub-switching, and so non-synchronous switching. By doing that, what I can achieve is that I may require less number of columns. I may increase the productivity, I can reduce the solvent consumption, which are all important thing, or I can increase the purity of raffinate or extract, because unnecessarily you will dilute if you don't switch the extract port like that. So this is the varicose process. It first developed by, again, Novasep and Massimo Morbidelli's group and all. But then we were the first one to apply optimization to it, because impossible to introduce this sub-switching just by doing experiments or so on like that. With that came the concept of the power feed. The same thing, instead of like this, what you can do that there is when you are passing feed continuously, you may load this column, overload this column. So instead of passing feed throughout the switching time, I can pass the feed for some time, then switch off, and then some time again. So if you have non-continuous flow of feed, the process we call power feed. A solvent gradient is that which is now more applicable for biopharmaceutical, that instead of flowing fluent or the eluent or the dissolvent or the solvent all through continuously, you can also, just like power feed, you can flow for some time, you can switch off and flow certain time, or you can use a gradient. So this one is called solvent gradient, because nowadays people use solvent with a different pH to recover all those protein drugs. The one that you want to recover, if you continuously change the pH of the solution, that you can recover each of those components likewise. And these days with the gradient pump, you can change the concentration of the solvent or to change the pH and all using the gradient pump. So this is the concept that variable column or varicose process or power feed and solvent gradient. Now briefly talking about the multi-component separation. So if you have 3 components, for example, now in a batch process you can switch and collect 3, and you need the adsorbent in such a way that these 3 moves in a different speed so that you can collect it. But if you want to get that in a simulated moving bed, that if you have the flow of the solid intermediate flow, so that we can get countercurrent separation. So 2 components can be moved like that, but what will happen to the third component, where to go? So it's very easy to explain for binary separation by intermediate flow and sigma greater than 1 and less than 1, but how you introduce that multi-component separation. So what we have to do now is that instead of 4th section, we may have to introduce another section with another solvent section. So dissolvent coming in here and dissolvent coming in here. So you can collect, extract, and raffinate, and the other component here. So mixture of ABC you can get like that way. So you can also do multi-component separation. For example, paraxylene, methylbenzene, both in the same unit you can collect by mixture of ortho meta paraxylene and that, because ortho and meta I'm not interested. I'm interested to collect that. So one of our PhD student, Anju, did 3 different modifications of this to show that both paraxylene and ethylbenzene we can collect by using different configurations. So I'm not going to talk about that. Now in 90s it became very popular for chiral drugs application in separation in SMB. So because chiral drugs, they are left hand and right hand, I cannot shake hand with my right hand with the left hand with somebody. So they are very difficult separation, and because of the development of stationary phase, chiral stationary phase, it started becoming popular to use that in SMB. So you can design chiral separation. Here separation is very difficult because they are isomer. So what you can do that one column you pack with right hand or left hand adsorbent, and then when you pass the mixture, if the column is packed with right hand, all the right hand will be adsorbed and the left hand will go through. You can collect it, and then you pass a solvent and collect the right hand. So just by packing the column with one component, and you can basically get the separation. So you can go from HPLC to kg scale to multi-ton scale using simulated moving bed. for chiral drug. I'll show some results later on. But what we mean by combining SMB and crystallization is this. In crystallization, there are two kinds of compounds because of the solubility diagram. 5 to 10% of enantiomer are racemic conglomerate, and you can easily do fractional crystallization. You use a L or D, and you can get pure L or pure D just when you put a seed and then it crystal grows and you get purity. But 90 to 95% of compounds have a solubility diagram like this, and for that you can only get purity up to this point because you cannot cross that from the phase diagram point of view. So industrially people use diastereomeric isomerized salt formation and all, and to develop or get a pure drug it takes about 15-20 years to develop because of the chiral intermediates and you form so many enantiomer mixture, and one mixture is the effective drug and the other components are toxic, so you cannot use it. And for chiral drug what you need is 99.9% purity of the effective drug, otherwise you cannot use it. Now the problem with SMB is that when you go from 90% purity to 95 to 99, 99.9, the amount of solvent consumption is huge. So what we can do is that we can combine SMB and crystallization. So we can use SMB to make purity go beyond this point, so maybe 70, 75% purity using SMB, so that I don't use so much of solvent and I go that point, and then you can go chiral fractional crystallization to get pure one. So you run ASMB, get the raffinate and extract the L and D component, purity beyond this point, and then you can concentrate the solvent, removing the solvent, concentrate the active ingredient, and then you do the crystallization to get pure again. So one PhD student worked on this also to make hybrid SMB and crystallization. So you model everything and do studies like that. For reactive separation, this is the one that I was the first one to incorporate reaction into SMB in my PhD project. So for example, you have A plus B going to C plus D. It's an equilibrium limited reaction. There are many reactions which are equilibrium limited: esterification, esterification, MTBE, hydrogenation, isomerization, for example, glucose-fructose enzymatic reaction, and so on. So when you have this and the two products, for example, methanol and acetic acid giving methyl acetate, if you say because of the adsorption column or chromatographic column, they get move at a different speed, so they get separated, so you stop the reverse reaction. So by doing that, conversion where is very low, you can get 100% conversion. So you can get very high conversion because you're shifting the reaction equilibrium, you're breaking the thermodynamic equilibrium. You can get very high purity because separation is taking place at the site, and then you are having the switching and all, collecting the raffinate port and the extract port, the two components. You get continuous operation, gives you improved productivity, and SMB technology you overcome the disadvantage with respect to solid. So you can consider this as an alternative technology to membrane reactor, reactive distillation where you use high temperature, circulating fluidized bed. Again, you have riser, downer, where you do adsorption, desorption. In SMB, what you do is just to adsorb and desorb to get pure component, or pressure swing or temperature swing adsorption. All these are done at a high temperature, or you pressurize the system, then you depressurize and get that. But in SMB, you can do that at mild condition, non room temperature and atmospheric pressure. So there are many challenges in SMB, and it gives you a lot of problem to solve with respect to process control also, that you may have changes in adsorption behavior, feed composition, malfunctioning of pump. All this may lead to control that you need to change the switching time or the flow rate such that I can go back to the original condition of collecting the feed and product like that. So there are many challenges, and you can introduce control and all into this problem. Manfred Murari has done some control on this SMB system. So when you go to the objectives, you have many objectives to fulfill. You want product specification, that you want the purity of the raffinate or extract greater than certain value. You want to maximize productivity. You want to minimize the solvent consumption. You want to minimize the adsorbent or reactive system, the catalyst requirement, and so on. For adsorbent, particularly for chiral stationary phase, is very important that we minimize the amount of solid required, because chiral stationary phase are very expensive. So briefly, I don't need to talk much about this. Multi-objective optimization, which we see that for SMB is very important, or modifications to SMB is very important. You have many different objective functions you can consider. You are listing two. You have the model. You can set conditions that you want to minimize the pressure drop or pressure drop below certain value. You have the decision variables at feed flow rate or solvent flow rate. And you have to set different thing, or you can also choose SMB configuration, how many columns I need in each section. So you can put multiple objective 2 or 3. You can have different equality or inequality constants, and you can solve them. Now, when you do multi-objective optimization, again, most of you know, but for those that a lot of time we get Pareto optimal solution. For example, we are going A to B to C, and my B is the intermediate product which I want the desired product. For example, partial oxidation of methane to ethane ethylene. So if you increase the temperature, you will get higher conversion, but increase of temperature will give you undesired product C over B. So if your objective is to get yield of B and selectivity of B both maximized, you will end up getting a solution like that. For different temperature, different solution will come out. Now between P and Q, Q is the best point because both selectivity and the yield is high. So I'll definitely want Q, the operating point, than between P and Q. But between Q and R, I cannot say that because I'm increasing selectivity, but my yield is going down. So these are all called equally dominant or equally good solution, and these are called Pareto optimal solution from economist Pareto, who came up with this idea. So we use genetic algorithm. I'll not get into that. So a lot of NSGA and different versions of NSGA that we use that. So now I'll show some results and then some of the other modifications. So for chiral drug separation, because of the efficient column, we can use 5 columns. And if we maximize the purity of extract and raffinate, if we use a configuration 1, 2, 1, 1, section 1, 1 column, 2 in the section column and all, so that is the optimum configuration we get, and you get a solution like that. This is Pareto optimal solution. So using this configuration, you can get very pure extract port, but your purity maximum you can get would be 96, for example. But if you want to get purity of raffinate port very high, you have to have 1, 1, 2, 1. Or the best solution you can say would be this, and switch to the other configuration to get that. But once again, you will not get both purity at the same time. So depending on your desired compound, whether I want extract more pure or that, we can choose the point and so on. So when we introduce the varicol to this SMB, which we saw the result, so in the varicol, you will see that by introducing the sub-switching, I can get much higher purity. So this is one configuration, in another configuration like that, and so on. So within a switching, if we introduce some sub-switching, 4 sub-switching, we can see that we can get much better solution than traditional SMB. So here to show one result with the power feed. For example, if we change the flow rate of the feed for 4 sub-switching period, low, little bit high, low, little bit high, and you can get this red line. The solution is better than 5-column SMB, but introducing 5-column power feed, we get that. The green one is the 5-column varicol, and if you use 6-column, of course, you have more stationary phase, more adsorbent, you get better solution. So just by changing the feed flow rate, you can see that you can achieve much better solution power feed or 5 varicol than conventional SMB. If I change the objective function that I want to maximize the feed flow rate or increase the productivity using less solvent, and if I do that for a chiral drug, and if you say 90% purity or 95 or 99% purity, what we'll see, the results we get is like that. So I can, for the same feed capacity, I can see that SMB requires so much more solvent compared to the varicol because of that. And this is for 95% purity of both E and R. But if we set the purity 99, and you can see that the solvent requirement increases exponentially. So I cannot even get that much flow rate, feed flow rate. I cannot get for that. The varicol can give you with a solvent like that, but it's not possible with SMB like that. So you can see that the advantage of varicol, and you can also introduce power feed and solvent gradient to get those things. So in varicol, if you use this kind of column configuration for 1/4 of the cycle, then the next 1/4 cycle like that versus SMB, and you can see the difference. And the difference increases if our desired purity increases from 95 to 99. For example, in the reaction separation, one example with methyl acetate. So what we do is first we do single column experiment to get adsorption equilibrium. Then we do experiment in SMB. Then we develop the model, and then we validate the model. So here, effect of switching time, feed flow rate, solvent flow rate and all. You can do lots of experiments, and you validate your simulation with experiment. When you see that your model is pretty good, then you can do optimization. So when you optimize, for example, maximizing yield of methyl acetate and the purity of methyl acetate, because that's my desired goal, you get a Pareto optimal solution. And this solution is obtained because of switching time. So for a particular purity, you have to choose that switching time, and the flow rate are, again, optimum flow rates are there. If you change the objective function to minimize the volume of solid and purity, so you can see that if I want to get high purity and with minimum solvent, basically what's the solution I get. If you introduce varicol and power feed and all, you can get even better results. So because of the time, now talk about few other modifications. Sequential moving bed, simulated moving bed. There's a company in China, Capco, which is one of the largest food processing. They use glucose-fructose separation. And for glucose-fructose, the main problem is the water consumption. So the water bill is so high. When I was also presenting these results, one of the managers from Cargill was there from USA. He also said that water bill is so high, their objective should be for glucose-fructose, minimization of the water consumption. So we did optimization with respect to that and send those results to Cargill and all. But Capco has a unit where they do experiments in industrial scale for sequential simulated moving bed. What is done here is that I don't want to flow the eluent all the time. So again, we use some kind of a sub-switching, but in this case, we even don't have continuous flow through all the columns all the time. So in sequential SMB, they divide into 3 steps within a switching time. So first switching time, they open this segment. So they divide this cycle into this feed coming in, collect the raffinate, solvent you pass and collect extract for 1/3 of the cycle. Then they move the mobile phase continuously without collecting anything for the next 1/3 cycle. And then you just pass the eluent and collect the raffinate. So by passing eluent only 2/3 of the cycle, then the entire cycle will minimize the required solvent. Now, which sequence you need to do or how many of such discontinuity you want to introduce, again, depends on what the process you have. So for glucose-fructose, we use this scheme. And then you can define your objective functions, the amount you are collecting, because you are now collecting for certain period and so on. I'll not get into that equation. So if we minimize the water consumption versus the purity of glucose, for example, and you see that SMB Pareto solution is that, and sequential SMB is that. So for same purity, I need less solvent or less amount of water compared to SMB. So by introducing that discontinuity into SMB, we can save solvent because now we are not passing solvent throughout the switching period. However, this is achieved at the cost of unit throughput or feed consumption or productivity. So although I can get less solvent use and get same purity, but at the cost of I can only treat SMB can treat more than SSSMB can use that. So at the cost of that, but for glucose fructose, my main objective is to reduce the water consumption bill. I don't care that much into that. So again, depending on that, you can do that. Now, if we want to fix, for example, the throughput, so if you want to minimize the water consumption and purity of glucose, once again, you can see that compared to SMB, sequential SMB can save a lot of solvent. But since I fixed the throughput, so what is happening is that recovery will be suffering. So you can recover more in SMB, but less using more solvent compared to SSSMB. But your objective is to get less solvent, then probably SSSMB is a better way to do that. Recently, we have introduced non-isothermal operation. So if you introduce in your model temperature dependent of adsorption equilibrium, temperature dependent of the reaction equilibrium, and if you set different temperature in different sections, so instead of operating isothermally, if you introduce non-isothermal, so you can see that you can get purity of the desired product, methyl acetate. We did for methyl acetate. And the throughput, you can see Pareto optimal solution. And by reducing the temperature in this section versus if we have temperature everywhere same, you will get essentially the same solution. So I don't need to use higher temperature in this one, but I can get same purity and throughput for that system. Now we have done this for 40 different combinations of that. Methyl acetate is a reaction, kinetically controlled reaction. So in the reaction zone, temperature high helps you with a higher conversion. But you have to set different temperature in the other section where you want to desorb it out. So the desorption will be taking place. We also introduce, again, if we have more columns, then it gives you opportunity not to go directly from 323 to 308. You can have different, slowly you can reduce the temperature or slowly you can increase the temperature. So we have done with many such analysis and we have explained those results using the sigma and so on. We have also introduced a parameter here that the temperature of the column decreases exponentially. So I cannot switch instantly from 323 to 308, for example. So we will see that if the temperature goes down exponentially from that, with that. So we assume, of course, instant equilibrium at that temperature, but a variation of temperature, so on. So this is just one result show that non-isothermal operation can also reduce the water consumption. I'm not going to show that result, but not only you can maximize the throughput or the feed that you can treat, but you can also reduce the solvent just by using non-isothermal operation. Last example, I'll talk about oxidative coupling of methane. This is one of the very important reaction where you oxidize methane to valuable products, ethane, ethylene. And if you fully oxidize, you will get CO2, which is undesirable. So here you want to use oxygen such a way that you get intermediates, ethane, ethylene. Now this reaction is a very important reaction, and over the years, over hundreds of catalysts, people try to achieve high selectivity and high yield for this one, because in fixed bed, if you do, or fluidized bed, you can get very high selectivity, but your yield is always very low because you end up getting CO2. Also, the pass conversion in fixed bed is typically 2 to 10%. So it's not that practical to use that. Of course, membrane reactors are used for this because you can pass oxygen throughout the length of the column to supply limited oxygen so that you don't get CO2. Now, if we apply for simulated moving bed, here what we have to use is that we have a reactor and then separator because the reaction is a little bit high temperature, and then two separator to give you flexibility. So we did experiments and all with particular catalyst and separator, and if you operate this way, and we did modeling and experiment to validate that. In fixed bed reactor, purpose conversion you can get is 2 to 16%, yield 20 to 25, selectivity less than 50. But in SMBR, you can see that you can get conversion greater than 60, yield greater than 50, selectivity greater than 90. Of course, not all simultaneously. But if you apply optimization, and you will see that by choosing parameters such a way that you can get very high conversion and selectivity and yield. So one such results is here, where we maximize conversion and selectivity. So you can see that we can get very high selectivity and conversion, whereas these are the experimental data points. So by choosing parameter properly, we can get all Pareto solutions which are much better. And those are achieved with dimensionless solvent consumption, switching time, and the flow rate in the section where the pressure drop is the highest, like that way. And we set that conversion is greater than 60% to get the more meaningful solution and all. So you can see that SMB can give you very high selectivity and yield and conversion and purity, all that you can calculate just by operating in a switching mode. So with that, I'll conclude that simulated moving bed is a well-known technology industrially. It's not difficult these days to develop. It is used for difficult or impossible separation for liquid phase binary system. In recent years, there are a lot of modification, varicol, non-synchronous switching, power feed, solvent gradient, sequential SMB. Those are all based on some kind of non-synchronous switching. Then you can also apply for multi-component separation, and this has now become very popular, particularly for biopharmaceutical or protein drugs. You can get, when you produce the biopharmaceutical using E. coli or enzymatic reaction, what you get is an active ingredient. With that, you get a mixture of a lot of impurities, and you can use, and you have to do multi-component separation. And solvent gradient with multiple columns help us to do that by varying the pH or solvent solvent conditions, so that you can collect the one that is you can get that. So some group has started working on that, including us, to get basically for protein drugs or antibodies, and so using multi-component separation in SMB. We talked about hybrid crystallization and SMB. You can combine integrated reactor separator to get very high conversion and purity for equilibrium limited reaction. You can apply non-isothermal operation that can reduce solvent consumption or give you better operating system operating, so to increase productivity and less solvent consumption. And of course, all this will be useful if we apply multi-objective optimization, because this process is so complex. Unless you use optimization, you will not be able to set those parameters to achieve better design or better modifications on this. So what I presented today is work of 9 PhD students and 5 or 6 master students. Some of them work on etherification and chiral drug. Wei Feng worked on methyl acetate. Hari worked on glucose-fructose separation. This is also Haldi on a chiral drug. Xiaoping also a chiral drug. Xiang on glucose fructose enzymatic reaction, Anju on multi-component separation of glucose fructose, Pradeep on that oxidative coupling of methane, Shemin with hybrid SMB and crystallization, Nesma also on chiral drug, Pega and Naima worked on protein refolding. Naima's work was also slightly different. There is a dairy farm which has a lot of cows, and in Canada, the dairy farm, one of the largest dairy farm, which produces, each cow produces about 45 liters of milk compared to Indian cow, which is 15 or 16 liters. On a given day, that farm has about 30 cows which are not well or sick. They monitor cows with electronic tag that were drinking less water or walking less. So they don't collect those milk for those sick cows, and typically 30 cows, 30 liters milk they give instead of 45 liters, 900 liters of milk they throw down the drain. So what we are looking at was whether we can recover protein from the milk from those the waste milk. Nilohit worked on biodiesel production, and Ian Lee recently did the SSSMB, doing a lot of work with the COPCO in China. Some collaborators in Singapore when I was there, Gus was collaborator on most of this work. Of course, a lot of optimization work I learned, and we do inspired from Professor Gupta. Massimo, when I was presenting some of my results on industrial hydrogen plant, which I did work with Professor Gupta in one of the conference, he saw that work and he came to me that why can't we apply this to SMB? And then we did a lot of collaborative work with Massimo. Many of my students went to him to do postdoc. So that's how the collaboration started. With Saurabh, he is expert in crystallization, so hybrid SMB crystallization we did with Saurabh. So a lot of work is funded from when I was in Singapore, from NUS University and A-Star, and Canada, most of this funding with NSAP. In between also some of the industries work like NovaSep with Massimo, GlaxoSmithKline for some of the chiral drug, and COPCO recently with sequential SMB. But all this not possible without my mentor. It all started from Professor Gupta, introducing this optimization and whatever, and today, as I said, is because of him. And I worked with my PhD work on SMB with Professor Harris and Robert Kerr, and working with them gave us my opportunity to get into all these jobs everywhere. So all happened because of them. Ron Benekers, I was introduced to the field of photocatalysis when I was in Netherlands. So these are the mentors and these are the researchers, and what I present today is nothing but because of that. And I just did all those, what I said.
There's another part of the paper.